Welcome to Big Shots. I know you're new to the range and we're glad that you're here, but before you go down to the range, we do have a few rules we'd like to cover. First of all, please put your cell phones away so that you can pay close attention to our safety rules. Our first rule is always keep the gun pointed down range. This way, you won't be shooting at anything you do not intend to shoot. Our second rule is always keep your finger off of the trigger until you're ready to shoot, and keep your finger along the side of the frame. Now, ready to shoot means your sights are lined up and you are ready for the gun to fire. Our third rule is always keep the gun completely unloaded. Completely unloaded means there's nothing in the chamber, there's nothing in the magazine, and the magazine is out of the firearm. If you're shooting a revolver, there is nothing in the cylinder and the cylinder is open. If you're renting a gun from us and you're not familiar with it, or you're not familiar with your own gun, please ask for help. We will be happy to assist you. Let's go look at some other range rules. All ranges are different and have different rules, so be sure and read them thoroughly. If you have any questions, please ask now. It's easier to ask here than in a noisy range. If you don't see rules posted, please ask for a copy. We do require both eye and hearing protection. And for children, we do require that they double up with both plugs and earmuffs. Either the front desk or the range officer will tell you where to shoot. So let's go have some fun. Before we uncase our firearms, I want you to remember that we never handle, uncase, or expose our firearms to the back bench. Go ahead, bring the case and all up to the front before we remove them. The first thing we want to do is check to see that the muzzle is pointed in the right direction. Open the bag, and if it's not pointed in the right direction, turn the entire case before handling the firearm. You always want your muzzle pointed downrange. When removing your firearm, be sure you clear it. Go ahead and take your slide to the rear, eject your magazine, visibly inspect your magazine to make sure that it is clear. Check your chamber before setting it on the bench. There's two ways to set the gun on the bench. One is with the ejection port up, so you can see that there's nothing in the chamber and it is completely unloaded. The other is with the ejection port down, but in this case, I can't see and nor can anyone else see if the gun is unloaded. Go ahead and turn the gun so the ejection port is up before setting it on the bench. And again, my chamber is empty, my magazine is removed, and my magazine is empty. This is the position you should leave this firearm in between shooting. Let's go through the process with a revolver. Again, I'm going to check to see which direction the muzzle is pointed, turn the bag if I need to, before removing the firearm. With my finger off the trigger, I'm going to go ahead, open the cylinder to ensure there is nothing in the cylinder before setting it on the bench with the cylinder up. This is the position you want to leave your firearms in between shooting if you're checking your target, loading or unloading, or changing shooters. But never leave a firearm on the bench unattended. At Big Shots, we're a little spoiled because there really isn't any reason to go past the firing line. The target system takes the range out and back for you.
When it's time to engage your target, remember to keep your gun pointed directly at the center of your target. If you aim too high, you'll be hitting the ceiling. Too low, you'll hit the floor. If you aim side to side, you may hit the wall or your neighbor's target, which they may not appreciate very much. If you need to take a rest while shooting, take your finger off the trigger, bring your elbows down to your side with your gun pointed directly downrange. Remember, anytime you reload, your firearm needs to stay pointed downrange. That means not at the ceiling and not at the floor. One of the most fun things to do on the range is go shooting with your buddies. Now, before you let your buddy shoot your gun, you want to make sure it's completely unloaded with the slide locked open, and then I will step fully out of the booth before my buddy steps in. Go ahead, man. Many shooters here at Big Shots like to bring in their long guns to fire. Remember, the same rules apply as with handguns. Bring the gun in the case up to the lane. Check to see which direction the muzzle is pointed, and then you can take the firearm out of the case and place it on the bench. Additionally, you want to make sure it's unloaded and lock the action open with the port facing up. Anytime you're firing a long gun, you must make sure the target is at least 15 yards away for safety considerations. Lastly, all shooters need to remember that anytime you're shooting your firearm, you need to be shooting at a controlled rate of fire. This applies to both long guns and handguns. Cease fire. If you hear a ceasefire, immediately stop all activity. Clear your firearm, set your firearm on the bench, and back away from the shooting stall. Shooters may not re-enter the stall or handle their firearm until the RSO gives the all-clear signal. There are many different reasons to call a ceasefire while on the range. Remember, Anyone can call a ceasefire at any time if they observe an unsafe situation. What do you do if somebody drops their firearm? Call a ceasefire. What about if you observe somebody moving in front of the firing line? Call a ceasefire. What do you do if you observe somebody pointing a gun in an unsafe direction? Call a ceasefire. Everyone on the range is a safety officer, and it's up to you to ensure that we maintain a safe and enjoyable shooting environment. Here's a few more tips to make sure you have an enjoyable experience. Never touch a firearm for any reason if you observe somebody going in front of the firing line. Never step over somebody's gear, always go around it. Never leave your gear in some place where somebody has to walk around it. Never touch anyone else's equipment without their permission. If in doubt, you can always ask the RSO or the shooters around you. Shooters are some of the friendliest people out there, and everyone's always willing to give a hand. Never move a loaded or jammed firearm from the stall. If you have an issue, let the RSO know, and he will come take a look. Ammunition to be used on the range will always be inspected before being sent down. This ensures that we will have no safety issues while you're on the range. There will be no steel core, steel case, incendiary, or tracer rounds used on the range. I want to welcome you to the range and hope you have a great time. Always remember the 4 safety rules. Keep your gun pointed downrange in a safe direction at all times. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. When not using your firearm, keep it unloaded with the slide lock to the rear and the ejection port facing up so the RSO can see that the gun is empty. Do not load your firearm until you are ready to use it. Lastly, know what lies beyond your target and where your bullet's going to impact. When leaving the range, be sure to thoroughly wash your hands using the D-lead soap provided to you in the restrooms. We hope you take firearm safety as seriously as we do here at BigShots. Remember, when you are on the range, firearm safety depends on you.